Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Second round of 2024 French snap elections on Sunday. Polls to elect MPs in 501 constituencies. National rally set to become the biggest party in parliament. Indian Parliament's budget session to begin from 22nd of this month. Union budget to be presented the next day. India's President Draupadi Murmu is in the eastern Indian state of Odisha to witness the world-famous Rathyatra in Puri. And in Euro 2024, England score all of their spot kicks to beat Switzerland 5-0. In penalties to make their way into the semis, Netherlands win 2-1 against Turkey in the other quarter-final. France will vote for the second round of its snap parliamentary elections on Sunday. Polling begins in one of the most significant elections, with the far right hoping for a historic victory, but political stalemate would be more likely the result. Parties across the political spectrum urged French voters to vote massively to tilt the outcome either way. As opinion polls forecast, the far right would be the largest party, but falls short of an absolute majority. Marine Le Pen's Eurosceptic anti-immigration national rally topped the parliamentary elections first round with a third of the vote, opening the prospects of the far right leading a French government for the first time since World War II. But after a subsequent series of tactical withdrawals of candidates from mainstream parties aimed at boosting whoever is best placed to beat the far right, several surveys have projected a drop in the number of seats the party could win, making an absolute majority even harder to reach. Sunday's legislative elections in mainland France will be decisive, with parties fighting to steal votes from a strong far-right force. Meanwhile, voters in France's overseas territories and living abroad started casting ballots on Saturday in parliamentary runoff elections that could hand an unprecedented victory to the nationalist far right. The far-right National Rally is set to be the biggest party in Parliament based on the polls ahead of the second round of the French general election on Sunday. If they win an outright majority, France would have its first far-right government since the Second World War. But rival parties on the left and the centre hope their voters come together to block the National Rally's path to power. DD India's correspondent Ross Cullen gets us more.
France is in uncharted territory. Following the first round of the snap general election, the far-right National Rally Party is now the dominant political force in the country, even if they do not secure an outright majority in the upcoming second round. Jordan Bardella, who is of Italian and Algerian descent, represents the new face of the National Rally. He's 28 years old, was raised by a single mother, and is popular on TikTok. But for Jordan Bardella to be Prime Minister, in the event that the far right wins an absolute majority, there would have to be a so-called cohabitation agreement of power sharing between him and the anti-far right centrist President Macron. And Emmanuel Macron's once powerful Renaissance party is fading from view, projected to come third in the second and final vote. The leftist coalition, the New Popular Front, came second in the first round of voting. Its politicians have ambitions of their own for the runoffs. Despite four parties jostling for space under one umbrella, the alliance aims to create an upset, win a majority, and install a left-wing prime minister. Although the financial markets rallied after the first round election results pointed towards a hung parliament, the political climate in France remains tense, with the potential for anti-nationalist demonstrations if the far right do take power. Ross Cullen in Paris, reporting for DD India.
All right, let's turn focus to Russia-Ukraine crisis. Now, Moscow claims more gains on the battlefield with Ukraine, with the Ministry of Defense saying it has improved its position on the Donetsk direction. Ukraine says multiple Russian attacks killed at least 7 people and wounded more than 24 others. Dasha Chernishova is in Moscow with more.
The Russian armed forces have taken control over the settlement of Sokol in the Donetsk People's Republic, the Ministry of Defense said on Saturday. It also said that Ukraine lost over 2,000 servicemen over the past day. The Russian Ministry of Defense says it hit the oil refineries and fuel storage facilities that supplied the Ukrainian military, as well as aviation weapons warehouses. Russian officials also said that Ukrainian attacks have completely destroyed at least 6 private houses in the Belgorod region. In Russia's southern Krasnodar region, Ukrainian drones attacked oil refineries. No casualties have been reported. In the meantime, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, who paid a visit to Moscow on Friday, said the conflict in Ukraine may lead to the division of the world into blocs. Orban's call for peace in Ukraine was supported by Slovakian Prime Minister Robert Fico, who said that the conflict in Ukraine has no military solution. The media reported on Saturday that Orban will make several more unexpected visits next week. Dasha Chernishova in Moscow, reporting for DD India.
Hopes for a ceasefire in Gaza have risen further after reports that Hamas has given its initial approval of a new US-backed proposal for a phased deal. Now, according to the reports, Hamas has dropped a key condition that no longer requires Israel to pledge a definitive end to the conflict as a prerequisite for a temporary halt in the hostilities. Now, according to Israeli Prime Minister's office, an Israeli delegation will be dispatched to the Qatari capital Doha next week to continue negotiations on a ceasefire deal with Hamas. Since the latest round of conflict, Israeli government and Hamas have held multiple rounds of indirect talks on a ceasefire, but so far negotiations have failed to produce concrete results due to lingering disagreements over each other's conditions. Voters elected the largest ever number of ethnic minority MPs to the House of Commons on Thursday, a reflection of more minorities becoming involved in politics as well as political parties seeking to reflect the people they represent. Here's more from Ollie Barrett.
The UK's Parliament is due to reconvene on Tuesday, July the 9th, and when it does, it will be with an ethnically and gender diverse makeup of MPs. Black, Asian and ethnic minority lawmakers will, according to an initial study, make up 13% of MPs in the House of Commons. That's up from 10% after 2019's election, and it takes it to its highest level ever. It is still below the overall population, though, which is at around 18% Black, Asian and minority in terms of the percentage makeup of the overall population in England and Wales, according to the latest data. There will be 242 women MPs. That's up from 220 after the general election of 2019. The diversity in Parliament is not reflected in the cabinet of Keir Starmer overall. That said, he has chosen Britain's first ever female Chancellor of the Exchequer in Rachel Reeves. Overall in Parliament, there are around 25 MPs who've been elected at the general election this time around who have a family background, connection, links to India of some sort. Ollie Barrett in London, reporting for DD India.
US Vice President Kamala Harris, the top choice to replace Biden if he were to step aside as the Democratic Party's standard bearer, spoke in New Orleans at the Essence Festival of Culture, an annual culture and music festival sponsored by Essence magazine. Harris attacked former President Donald Trump and the US Supreme Court for taking away abortion rights.
This is probably the most significant election of our lifetime. You know, we have said it every 4 years. But this here one is it. We are looking at an election that will take place in 122 days.
122.
Where on one side, you have the former president who is running to become president again, who has openly talked about his admiration of dictators and his intention to be a dictator on day one. who has openly talked about his intention to weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies, who has talked about being proud of taking from the women of America a most fundamental right to make decisions about your own body.
A crew of 4 people is now free to return to normal life after spending more than a year confined in a NASA simulator designed to replicate life on Mars. The crew entered the 1,700 square foot enclosure back on June 25, 2023. During the project, the volunteers participated in simulated spacewalks, experiments and other activities intended to take place on the Martian surface. On Saturday, the crew walked out of their 3D printed dome to applause at a facility in NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston. Thousands of residents gathered in central Barcelona to protest against mass tourism, saying it has pushed the cost of rent and made the city unsustainable for people living there. The demonstrators carried banners and chanted slogans highlighting the adverse effects of tourism on their daily lives, including overcrowded public spaces and environmental degradation and the erosion of local culture. Many locals expressed frustration over how the booming tourism industry has prioritized short-term rental accommodations, driving up housing prices and displacing long-term residents. Armenia and the United States will hold joint military exercises in Armenia from July 15 to July 24th. The Eagle Partner 2024 exercise will focus on tasks related to peacekeeping missions, and such drills with partner countries are regular. Armenia has seen its ties with Moscow's Tsar in the recent years. Though Armenia remains a treaty ally of Russia, it has said repeatedly that it does not support Moscow's conflict in Ukraine and has sent humanitarian aid to Kyiv, drawing Russia's ire. All right, a quick look at other stories making it to the headlines from across the world now. The annual festivities of Spain's San Fermin Festival began with the lighting of the Chapinazo firecracker in the city of Pamplona. The festival spans from July 6th to July 14th. Now, this festival is renowned for its running of the bulls, where participants run ahead of a group of bulls through the city streets. Thousands of people dressed in traditional white outfits with red scarves gather to witness the launch of the firecracker and celebrate the beginning of this historic and culturally significant event. Coral bleachings devastate Bali reefs as sea temperatures rise. Indonesian conservationists have been working for 16 years to preserve coral on the reefs of Bali, but the frequency of mass coral bleachings, it is said, is now devastating. 90% of the corals Sugarto had not nurtured on the reefs near a village in Bondalim in northern shore of Bali, and they lost their color last December. Experts call it a deep shock as many planted corals were negatively affected. Archaeologists have discovered the ruins of a 4,000-year-old temple in the sandy desert district of Zana in Peru. The team also found skeletal human remains which may have been offerings for religious rituals. This significant find sheds light on ancient religious practices in the region. Also, the temple ruins, the team uncovered skeletal human remains which are believed to have been offerings for religious rituals. You're watching DD India Live. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, delivery of 35,000 sets of AK-203 assault rifles to the Indian Army marks the completion of the first phase of India-Russia joint venture. Amarnath Yatra resumes after a temporary suspension on Saturday due to heavy rainfall. In tennis, Novak Djokovic moves into the 4th round of Wimbledon Open.
Voice of a rising aspirational world. Stories of challenges, struggles and accomplishment. A world battling conflict, hunger and poverty. Embracing growth, development, science and technology. A voice of progress, a voice of unity. Watch Voice of the Global South with me, Akshay Dongre, only on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India Live and I'm Preeti. Let's continue getting you more updates. An India-Russia joint venture that was set up to produce the AK-203 assault rifles has completed its first phase with the delivery of 35,000 sets to the Indian Army, and the facility at North Indian city of Amethi is now fully equipped to produce the rifles in large numbers. The Kalashnikov AK-203 assault rifle is a version of the AK-200 rifle. The AK-203s are manufactured in India in compliance with exclusive Russian technologies on certified equipment. Now, this ensures high product quality and compliance with the stated characteristics. More than 700,000 rifles are to be manufactured in India as part of the joint venture Indo-Russia Rifles Private Limited, established between the Indian Ordnance Factory Board, that is OFB, Kalashnikov Concern and the Rosoboron Export, both subsidiaries of the Rostec State Corporation. Produced in India-based units started last year. Prime Minister Modi had inaugurated the factory in 2019. Ahead of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's arrival in Moscow for the 22nd Annual India-Russia Summit, DD India correspondent Jessica Taneja spoke with Mansi Parashar of the Russian International Affairs Council about the expectations and anticipation from the visit. Let's listen in.
We're at the iconic Red Square in Moscow and I'm joined by Mansi Parashar. She works with the Russian International Affairs Council. Mansi, thank you for speaking to DD India. What is expected from the Prime Minister's visit and what do you think will be on top of the agenda?
First of all, thank you so much for having me here. And I think this visit is going to be a very symbolic one in terms of reinforcing the friendship between India and Russia. And on top of the agenda, I think economics and trade is going to top it all, because the trade ties between the two countries are strengthening and the diaspora is really looking forward to, building deeper economic ties with the Russians here.
Right. And what are those areas of cooperation where we can expect more discussion, more momentum?
I think pharma is certainly one of them. Besides that, cultural exchanges are also going to be on the hit list, because recently there are a lot of events being organized by the Indian society and the Russians have been actively participating in them. Besides that, a lot of Russian tourists are enthusiastic about visiting India, so the cultural exchanges will also be in the highlight.
Thank you, Mansi, for speaking to us and sharing those insights. This is Jessica Taneja with video journalist Shubham in Moscow for DD India.
India's Parliament's budget session is set to begin from July 22nd and will run till August 12th. Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiren Rijiju on Saturday announced that India's budget for the financial year will be tabled in Lok Sabha on July 23rd. India's eastern state of Odisha's pilgrim city, Puri, is hosting Lord Jagannath's majestic Rathyatra festival on Sunday. All preparations have been made for the grand cultural festival of the deity. The servitors of Sri Mandir, the abode of Lord Jagannath, his elder brother, Lord Balbhadra, and Devi Subhadra on Saturday performed the Agyan Mala, a ritual to garland as symbol of permission for the three chariots ahead of the Rath Yatra. The popular Rath Yatra is the time when the deities come out of temple and embark on a 9-day journey to their aunt's place. India's President Draupadi Murmu will witness annual Lord Jagannath Yatra in Odisha's Puri on Sunday. Union Home Minister Amit Shah offered his prayers at Lord Jagannath Temple in Ahmedabad, the largest city in the state of Gujarat. Amit Shah, who is on a visit to the state of Gujarat, performed the rituals in the wee hours of Sunday along with his wife on the occasion of annual Rath Yatra. Amarnath Yatra resumed on Sunday after being temporarily suspended from both Pahalgam and Baltal routes to the Holy Cave on Saturday due to heavy rainfall. Weather is cloudy but track is through today. The holy shrine is located at an altitude of 12,756 feet above sea level. Over 1 lakh pilgrims have offered prayers at the holy shrine since the yatra officially commenced on June 29th from the twin base camps in the valley. The 52-day-long annual yatra, which will conclude on August 19th, has resumed on Sunday. Police officials neutralized 4 unidentified militants in an ongoing gunfight in India's South Kashmir's Kulgam district on Saturday. 2 Indian soldiers are also martyred in the twin anti-terror operation as it is underway in Madargam and Fizal Chinigam areas of Kulgam since Saturday afternoon. Police say that culmination of the operation will take some more time. It is believed that the terrorists belong to Hizbul Mujahideen terror outfit. The flood situation in Assam remains critical as over 24.2 lakh people remain affected by the floods in 30 districts. Over 47,000 inmates are taking shelter in 612 relief camps. Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma on Friday visited Dibrugarh urban flood affected areas and took stock of the situation in flood affected areas of Khowang and Tengaghat area of Dibrugarh district. A quick look at other stories making it to the headlines from across India now. After heavy rains lashed Ayodhya, the water level in the Saryu River is rapidly increasing. Devotees from different parts of the country are arriving in Ayodhya to witness a glimpse of Ram Lalla and take a holy dip in the Saryu River. Amid this increase, the devotees thronged at Ayodhya and praised the government's efforts to prevent any mishap at the banks of Saryu River while taking a holy dip. India's Sea Shakti achieved remarkable success at the Monaco Energy Boat Challenge, winning 3 prestigious prizes. Held in the picturesque city of Monte Carlo, Monaco, the competition showcased innovative and sustainable maritime technologies from around the world. The team's success at the Monaco Energy Boat Challenge not only brings pride to the nation but also emphasizes the importance of clean energy solutions in the maritime industry. The members of the team India Sea Shakti are being celebrated for their dedication, ingenuity and contribution to a greener future. Chennai is eagerly participating in the Neyveli Book Fair 2024, offering readers the opportunity to explore a diverse selection of books and periodicals until July 14th. The event, held in Neyveli, has attracted a multitude of publishers, authors and book enthusiasts from across the region. Attendees can browse through a vast array of genres, including fiction, non-fiction, academic texts, children's literature and rare collections. All right, talking of sports now. In Euro 2024, England scored all of their spot kicks to beat Switzerland 5-3 in penalties to make their way into the semis. Earlier, in a pulsating draw at Dusseldorf, Breel Embolo gave the Swiss the advantage in the 75th minute by sorting off a low cross. However, the advantage was nullified by Bukayo Saka 5 minutes later as he scored from a stunner. In fact, he scored a stunner from outside the box. For Switzerland, the spot kicks brought a cruel end to the dream of making into their first ever European Championships semi-final. Meanwhile, another quarter-final match last night, Netherlands came from behind to down Turkey 2-1 and set up a Euro 2024 semi-final clash with England. A Stephen de Vrij header and Mert Mulder own goal inside the last 20 minutes wiped out Samet Akkerden's first half opener in the quarter-final and allowed the Dutch to book their place in Wednesday's last 4 tie in Dortmund. On to tennis, 7-time champion Novak Djokovic moved into the 4th round of Wimbledon Open despite another below-par performance on Saturday. Djokovic dropped the opening set to Alexei Popyrin. However, the 37-year-old Serb stayed on course for a record 25th Grand Slam title with a 4-6, 6-3, 6-4, 7-6 win to set up a clash with Danish dynamo Holger Rune. The players on court also feel the energy of the crowd as they reacted not to his match against England football team's match against Switzerland. That's it in this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. Now, this app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can download the respective codes from the screens now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.